The Breakdown.
Hiraeth by Dayshifter.
Take me anywhere, oh, take me anything just to feel. Drowning in, I can't find the waves.
This is the Newcastle Outfit's debut studio album, self-released on the 8th of June. Hiraeth consists of 10 tracks, clocks in at around 36 minutes, and is the follow-up to a pair of standalone singles from 2018.
All right, hold on.
It's been a minute. They had like...
Are you sure? We got the timeline right on this
The
one?
singles were drip-fed starting in 2020 for this record. So it's a lot of like COVID delay.
All right.
type,
Okay. All right.
thing.
So like the obvious shit. Okay, I'm with you because
Yeah.
otherwise this would be like one of the craziest like.
Lead ups.
Yeah, this is like the longest pre-order campaign in history. It was like we gotta hype this album for 5 straight years. You imagine if a band did that and they were just like, let's see how high we can get our pre-order numbers in like 5 years. Like, let's see if we can really like top out. Marcus, what does Hiraeth mean?
Hiraeth is a deep longing for something, especially one's home.
You get that vibe from this record? You get a deep longing vibe from this record?
Yeah, this album's very like melancholic and I don't know. Close your eyes and picture a melodic hardcore album, and this one should be at the top.
For me, Holding Absence kind of came to mind when I was listening to this, just in terms of like the general like sentiment, like the tone of this record. Like there's
Yeah.
kind of a bit of like a bearing my relatively broken soul.
Sonically though, it's got the bite of like an earlier While She Sleeps album.
Yeah, it's punchy. I'll give you that. There were definitely some tracks that stood out to me on here, and Anywhere But Here was probably the one that like reigned above the rest. It was like they immediately when I heard it, I was like, okay, like band defining song with something like this.
This is definitely one of those bands where like you can sort of tell that they're in their infancy, because I do think that the quality of songs, like there are some that I think are sort of head and shoulders above others. That doesn't mean that it doesn't all even out in a really good way. Like I think that overall it's a good album, but there's definitely songs on here that are solid, whereas others are good.
And when it hits, it hits. I think there was some opportunity on here to maybe push the boundaries a little bit, in a sense that like I would like to see where they go in the future and some of the chances they take and how they try to maybe establish the unique aspects of themselves moving forward. You know, I would say that maybe a little bit was missing from this debut record, that I don't fully know what the Dayshifter sell is just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that all the pieces are there, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, if
Like
there's
talent-wise, we're there. But definitely need some. I need a clearer picture as to what makes this exact band unique. Like lyrically, I think that there's some opportunity as far as like, not like subject matter, but like this definitely deals with like, you know, anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And I really need them to sort of dig in on a more personal level. Like,
yeah,
what am I coming
it's
to
a lot of like
Dayshifter
kind of like
for?
flowery language. Like, for example, there was one line in there that kind of popped out to me, counting the days since the orchids decayed, which I
Solid,
thought was
right?
like pretty line, but you're right. It doesn't it's not a window to the soul. It's almost like kind of like a distant vision of it, like not quite letting you all the way in, just sort of giving you like a general idea.
But it's a good taste, and I think overall, like that's I would say that's sort of across the board for this whole album. Like that's the whole experience. Like good taste. I would appreciate the follow up to be a sort of deeper look into the window of the soul, or however you phrased it. But still a lot to like on here. I actually really enjoyed the title track on here, which is actually just like an interlude of sorts. Comes right before Fever Dreaming, which is the closing track on the record.
Yeah.
I think that they actually do a lot of cute stuff production-wise with that track in a way that it reminds me of, something that like an Issues or an I See Stars have done in the past. And I would have actually really liked to see that sprinkled in throughout the entirety of the track listing. Like, give me 2 more songs like that title track. And it doesn't even have to be a standalone thing. Just give me like 2 more minutes of that atmosphere, that ambience, like that just world building. And I think even that can be what separates this band from a lot of their peers,
Right. Like let's take this, build on it, and see where we can go. I will say that maybe if there was one aspect that I think they really excelled at, and it kind of circles back to where we started, it's that they do capture the tone really well. That overall like dreariness with like a little glimmer of hope sprinkled in here and there. They do know how to communicate their overall like feeling well. I just think that maybe there's a few songs in there in the future where we can see a little bit more. I don't know if it's experimentation, but or it's just like development time, where I think
it's
this Dayshifter album in a couple years is better than the Dayshifter album we have now, even if they're kind of doing a similar thing.
100%. I think that'll probably be the case here.
I think I'd give this like a 3 out of 5, where I think it was enjoyable and slightly above average, but didn't exactly wow me. It piqued my interest.
I think all the pieces are there. We've mostly put the puzzle together. Like you said, like did a really great job of capturing like the tone. I think they like the energy of this record is overall good. Like if they're trying to put together like a rallying like anthem of a chorus, like they do that when they put their minds to it. Like anything this band does put their mind to, they're pretty solid at. But I'm right there with you. Like right now, these 10 tracks for me, as they are right now, is a 3.5 or a 3 out of 5. But respectfully so. Like this is a standard debut album from a pretty promising up and coming new band. I'm happy with it.